And actually, you know, in the Mahayana, and Tibetan Buddhism is a branch of Mahayana, you know, there's specific precepts about not criticizing the Theravada. And that you break your bodhisattva vows if you criticize the Theravada. And yet you find people doing this because of this grasping, this self-grasping. And because, you know, again, maybe I need one, just tell me what the one way, right way is, and of course, whatever I believe is the best way. So this kind of sounds like your friend's thing. I'm Tibetan Buddhism, so what I believe now, I'm a Tibetan Buddhism, that's the right way. Then they become Theravada. Now I believe in Theravada, that's the right way. And that's why I tried to make a joke if you're not sure what they're going to believe next week, because whatever they believe next week will be the right way for them. Yeah? And so I think with people like this, it's important to really point out that the Buddha taught the Buddha Dharma. The Buddha did not teach Theravada. The Buddha did not teach Mahayana. He did not teach, you know, Chan. He didn't teach Pure Land. He didn't teach Huayan. He didn't teach Tantra. He taught the Buddha Dharma. Yeah. And this is one reason that there's a new book that just came out by His Holiness Dalai Lama that I was able to co-author, called Buddhism, One Teacher, Many Traditions. Yeah? And this whole thing, like I said before, this is really showing the greatness of the Buddha as a teacher, that he taught many traditions. So with your friends, I would, you know, really point out that we all have the same teacher. And if we disparage any of the Buddhist traditions, we're disparaging the Buddha as the teacher, because all of those traditions are rooted in what the Buddha taught. If your friends are trying to convert you and pressure you and criticize you because you don't practice their brand of Buddhism, you just say, thank you very much. You know, what you're saying is not helpful. Yeah. And I would like to be respected for what I believe in. I would like you please to respect all of the Buddha's teachings. Yeah. And there is no need to have this kind of debate about who is the one right one. Because the basic point is we are all in samsara, aren't we? So what are you going to do? You want to be the best person in samsara? Yeah? That's what it's like. I want to be the best whatever I think is best. I want to be the best person in samsara. You know, it doesn't matter if you're the best person in samsara or the worst person in samsara. As long as you're in samsara, you're stuck. Yeah? And so how about if we all work together so we can all get out? That's the point. Yeah? That this kind of debate is not at all helpful to our own personal practice, because our own personal practice involves looking deep in our own mind. Yeah? And do I have ignorance in my mind? How can I recognize the fundamental ignorance in my own mind? Can I recognize when I have craving and attachment? Can I recognize when I have anger? That's what we need to be looking at. Yeah? Because we're not going to get liberated by arguing over details. We're going to get liberated by looking at our own mind and seeing how we personally need to improve. And so I would say that to them. And if they keep pushing, then you just distance yourself. Yeah? Or tell them to go to the conference of all the international fundamentalists. Where they'll get along very well with all the others. Yes. And let me just add also, tell your friends, say what you're saying is very hurtful to me, and I need respect. Yeah? Yes.
Hello, Venerable. Thank you so much for bringing up the issue about layman teachers on reincarnation. That has been something that's very difficult for me as well. When I started on Buddhism about 5 years ago, it's got a lot of good inner reflection for myself in the sense that I recognize the mindset and how I look at people differently to be more compassionate. But that step across, and I believe in karma as well, but that step across reincarnation has always been very difficult for me. I confess I've not seen a lot of deaths closely. There was one that happened to me. Somebody very dear to me passed away. And what shocked me a lot was at that moment, I actually cannot sense or feel the progression of reincarnation, as in at that point in time I recognized that life is over, and I felt that was that. So is it possible if you can share with me please on how to view reincarnation in a more holistic manner? Thank you very much.
Very good question. How to view rebirth. Let's use the word rebirth. Okay, because I didn't grow up believing in rebirth. I thought there was just this life and then basta finito. That was it. Okay. So I had to go through a process myself to believe in rebirth. But what I thought about is, everything that functions arises due to causes. Yeah? Doesn't it? If you look in the material world, everything that exists arose due to causes. When we talk about the non-material world, like our mind, yeah, which is not something that's made out of atoms and molecules like the brain is. The mind is something different. The mind also, comes about due to causes. Yeah. Can you accept that the mind is something different than the brain? Okay. So, the physical things, you can look at the causes. Science is very good at analyzing the causes of physical things. Science does not understand the mind at all because the mind is not something you can measure with scientific instruments, because scientific instruments only apply to things that are made out of atoms and molecules, okay, which the mind isn't. The mind is the nature of clarity and awareness. Yeah? But if we look, and you sit here and you have a sense of your mind, that cognizes, feels, experiences, all these, the cognitive part of you. Yeah? So this moment of mind had a cause, the previous moment of mind. Yeah? That previous moment of mind also had a cause. It couldn't come from nowhere. Yeah? It came from the previous moment of mind. And so in that way we can trace back the continuity of mind, to when we were 5 years old, when we were an infant, even back into the womb, Of course, when we were in the womb, our mind was not in the same state as it is now. Now we have language and everything like that. But still in the womb, there was consciousness. Yeah. then you trace it back to the time of conception where the mind joined the fertilized egg. Now we know the continuity of the fertilized egg, the material continuity of that. But where did that first moment of mind that entered into the fertilized egg come from? Yeah? It had to have a cause, because nothing can arise and exist without a cause. Nothing can happen without a cause. Because if there's no cause, what causes something? So that first moment of mind in this life had to have a cause. And just as, as we were going backwards from now, each moment of mind was caused by a previous moment of mind. Well, that first moment of mind of this life was caused by a previous moment of mind. Okay? The mind of the moment before the beginning of this life. Okay? And then that mind had a cause also, the previous moment of mind. And so in this way, you see that each moment of mind, each moment of clarity and awareness arose from a cause, the previous moment of clarity and awareness. And there was no beginning to that. Yeah? So that's going backwards. Going forwards, each moment of mind produces the next moment of mind. And at the time of death, what happens? Well, at life, the body and mind are associated and they affect each other. At death, what's happening is the body and mind, their continuities separate. Yeah? The body gets cremated, becomes ash, or the worms eat it, whatever. Yeah, so there's a physical continuity. For the mind, there's a mental continuity of one moment of mind producing the next moment of mind. Yeah? When that mind is covered by ignorance and has, created karma, polluted karma in the past, then that mind is attracted towards another rebirth. It's attracted towards another body. Yeah, it craves to have another body, another identity. And so it gets reborn. Yeah. What we want to do is stop the ignorance and stop the craving. Okay, and in that way stop the cycle of rebirth. But even when you stop the cycle of rebirth, there's nothing that can stop one moment of clarity and awareness from producing another moment of clarity and awareness. Yeah? And that's why, from the viewpoint of some Buddhist schools, the Buddha's mind continues to exist today. Yeah, because there's nothing that can stop the existence of the mind. But the Buddha's mind is pure. The Buddha does not get reborn due to ignorance and craving, because all the defilements have been eliminated. But instead, out of love and compassion and altruism, the Buddha is able to manifest in many different forms to teach us. Okay, does that make some sense when you think about it in terms of cause and effect? Yeah, it does make sense, doesn't it? Yeah? Yes.
Thank you, Veron. Just now we were discussing about the Myanmar and Rohingya. Actually, my point is that we Buddhists are very peace-loving, non-violent, compassion, and so on. And it's very sad to see that Tibet is a peace-loving, religious people. They the whole life, whole country, peace-loving, and practice the Dharma. But what happened, you see, the communist